bunch we have for Kamehameha. So they told me the name was. Kamehameha, welcome. We have some really good voice actors from the anime genre. I'm sure you're going to want to ask a lot of questions and listen to their answers. I was talking to them a little earlier, and they're really fun people. Let's bring up Christine Cabanos. Where's Christine? There she comes. Take a seat. How are you? Wonderful. Also, Todd Haberkon is favorite. Todd, how you doing?
Doing very well.
Of course, Christopher Sabat. Very cool. Look at this. This is what it's all about, huh?
We are so handsome. I mean, you are too.
So I actually not very familiar with a lot of anime, but I think that's kind of a good thing. I've seen, because I have some misconceptions. I know. I have some misconceptions. I have some questions, and I wonder a few things about it. Some questions might seem very ignorant, but that's what people tell me I am, ignorant. First thing I want to know is the actual talent of voicing some of these. They're so different. Some of them very fun and light. Other ones very dark and very dramatic. How do you handle the difference in that?
Good, Todd.
Oh, you. Yeah.
Oh, you.
I don't know. I guess it's not something that I consciously think about. It's just when I see the animation or the tone of the show, it's just something you feel and you like change your performance.
Well, I think one of the biggest differences between Western animation and anime is the fact that with anime, they go to many layers that you won't find in, like, Ninja Turtles is a great show. It really is. I watched it, I had all the toys. But, you know, it's Turtles versus Shredder or Baxter or, you know, Krang or you know, it's a good versus evil thing. It's very much, that's the structure. Whereas with anime, you have some shows where it's like, it's about the death of a dad and how they come through that, or, you know, or Kamehameha for 5 or 6 episodes. And the emotional turmoil you go through that, doing that, you know?
I like that your version of the Kamehameha was the one that Goten did.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Goten said Kamehameha instead of Kamehameha, but I like it. It's really cute. You really, like, it almost sounded like you knew about Dragon Ball Z.
I'll be the first one. The only thing I've ever seen fully of DBZ was the movie that we just premiered, the next movie coming out.
Did you guys know that? Do you know that he just joined the Dragon Ball Z cast?
Jocko. But the movie comes out on the 4th, and it goes to the 12th, and tickets they're like totally selling out and stuff, so congratulations.
Thank you. I really would like to say it had a lot to do with you.
But no.
Okay, I'd like to say that.
Yeah, I would like you to say that too.
Thank you.
But no, it was a really great movie, and what I thought was really cool, talking to Raleigh, who was like the main engineer on the show. What they did was they took it to, like, didn't you take it to another facility to, you know, make sure that it had just the perfect sound mix for...
Oh yeah, the movie, we took it to a professional, like, dub house to make sure that it sounded perfect in a studio environment too. It'll sound really good in the movie theater.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's so much fun to, like, experience my first full DBZ watching of something. Because whenever we worked on the games or, like, on the show for Kai and stuff, you know, you just see your parts, so you don't get to see the whole thing. And so it's like, wow, why is that guy yelling wasn't he yelling 3 episodes ago? And like, oh no, he's still charging up. But so it was really cool to get to see the whole thing.
It's good to have you with us. We've only been working on this for like 15 years now.
But do you need an understanding of Japanese language when you're dubbing these into English?
I mean, you pick up stuff.
You do pick up a couple of things, but honestly, we've been so busy working on this, my ability to study another language has just been awful. I meet a lot of Japanese clients, and I'm really embarrassed that I don't know enough Japanese. The only thing I do is I collect the word "time" anytime I hear it. because my brother's name is Tim, and so anytime it shows up, I just send him Timmy, which means like darn it or something, or probably something worse than that, but or curse you in Japanese. But yeah, we've been around it. You seem to kind of you start to pick some things up, but. Yeah, our job is mostly just to watch it, listen to what the context is, and you're so busy trying to watch the mouth movements of the characters that you're not always spending as much time thinking about what the original language was.
I can tell when they're angry and when they're happy.
Right.
So I've got that going for me.
What about length of, obviously, English and Japanese, the length of a sentence or a statement might vary. How do you punch that up to?
That's actually something we deal with a lot more in the video game world, more so than the anime world. In the anime world, there are professional writers and things that really help do a great job of kind of like making that all work out. In the video game world, usually you don't get the audio files until you start working on the game. And so the line might be, you know, I am the Prince of all Saiyans once again, but the Japanese line is like, how do you stretch that out? You just put the word man oh man before it. You know what I'm talking about. You've worked on a lot of localized like video game stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Because they'll play you the Japanese file first, and then it's your job to kind of speak it in English afterwards. And they'll either tell you, you know, try and match this timing, or they'll say you have 4 seconds to do this, you know, these 3
Yeah, like
words.
they'll literally time it, and they'll say like, okay, you're 0.4 seconds short, and then you have to stretch it a little bit, or now you're too fast. Or...
Sometimes it's hard when the sentence in Japanese is really small, and then the sentence that we have to say is a lot longer.
Yeah.
Keep like speeding
That
it up,
happens a
speeding it
lot.
up.
Gonna throw that in there to make it fit.
In the Dragon Ball Z
Yeah.
world, we had an attack that we renamed from Kenzan to Destructo Disc. And poor Sonny, every time we do a game, when the video game comes up, the attack in Japanese is like, Kenzan! And Sonny's gotta go, Destructo Disc! Fast as he possibly can. It's so sad. We regret those mistakes.
Have you ever had a story completely changed just through the dialogue? Like somebody decides, hey, I have a story for this. I could completely change the dialogue when we translate it.
Yeah,
No, just
yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Like I'm working on a show right now with Chris called The Disappearance of Nagato Yuki-chan, and some of the lines actually, if you're just coming into the show, you feel like, oh, I can change that line because it doesn't have anything to do with anything. I can totally do that and it'll be fine. But if you watch the other series, the other previous seasons, you realize that line actually is a playback to a previous season's huge plot point, and so you have to keep that line there. But in the script, it's written as if, oh, there's nothing, this doesn't mean anything. And, but for example, there's like a thing about one of these characters stabbing another character like with a knife, and they're like, oh, we can change that. No, that happened in the previous, like that needs to stay. So there's little cases like that do really change. If you change that, you totally disregard previous things and stuff like that.
right. Wow.
There was a really funny situation okay, so you all are familiar with Dragon Ball Z, and some of you may be familiar with the Dragon Ball series, which is kind of the precursor to Dragon Ball Z. It's about Goku as a child. And the episodes are old. I mean, they're like mid-80s episodes in Japanese. And they're very fun and lighthearted, and they're always really goofy and comical. And we were trying to localize it for television, and there was one scene with a guy that was looking for a boy, and it became very obvious very quickly, like, oh, he really likes this boy. Like, this is very inappropriate. So we had to change it to like he was looking for his brother or something like that, just to even get it on television, because it was pretty naughty. Anyway.
That is interesting. There does seem to be certain plot points and subject matter that would be inappropriate in certain anime that then has to be glazed over.
Well, in a case like that, I mean, they're really trying to tap into that medieval times audience where that was kind of a little more accepted. That you marry a 12-year-old.
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Because you're going to die at 15, but yeah.
But I think that's part of it, because when we first started working on anime, a million years ago, in the late 90s, it was very hard to convince Americans that Japanese anime was like for all ages. Because at that time, most people just assumed that cartoons were for kids, that's it. But I think as people have been growing up and experiencing more and more anime, they realize that the subject matter is very universal. And so some stuff may look like it's very kind of immature and sort of childish, but it's not necessarily meant for a children's audience. And that's not in all cases, but it does kind of happen, you know what I mean?
I think like some of my experience with it, even would you consider the animated part that was in Kill Bill
Oh, yeah.
to be, because that was very dark, that was anime,
Yeah.
and definitely made for an adult audience.
Oh, yeah. That was...
It was definitely an anime style.
Yeah.
That's that was probably... Oh, no, I won't make that joke. Never mind. You see...
What do you think brought up this kind of, not even a resurgence, just a surgence of popularity in anime in the United States?
I don't know. I mean, I think that Dragon Ball Z definitely helped introduce a lot of people to anime before they even realized that they were watching anime. This is a pop culture convention, so you're probably going to see a lot more people who just, watch Dragon Ball Z because it was on television and didn't even think twice about it. But there are a lot of people who are watching it then, running home from school every day, and then they've gotten older and they realize, oh, this is a Japanese cartoon, and there's other cartoons like this. And I've actually watched Pokemon too, and that's from Japan. So I think it turned, there's purists who just love Japanese culture anyway, and they wouldn't have been affected by this. But I think there are a lot of people who, through watching shows like Dragon Ball and Pokemon, realized that they liked shows that were from Japan.
And I love, and as you guys know, I mean, I'm an avid DBZ watcher, and your character of Pickle Toes and Vegetable is...
You're so good with names, Todd.
Very impressive.
So good with names.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, because I mean, a million years ago, kids were introduced to a show called Speed Racer years ago, and that was kind of the first anime I think that was really kind of accepted in this country.
Well, it showed you how to domestically raise a chimp.
Yes, that was one thing, and drive irresponsibly.
You put them in a trunk. That's where they like dark, enclosed spaces.
But it's definitely, caught on. I think people have always loved any type of animation, especially you're younger growing up, you kind of get this soft spot for, me as a kid growing up with all the early Warner Brothers cartoons, that was, I still love them. So I guess if you're growing up with anime, that's what you're gonna be more akin to watch. As far as the delivery, there is such a unique delivery to the voiceovers for anime. It's unlike any other kind of delivery. Very, very, I don't even know what to call it, staccato?
Well, I think it depends on the type of show, because I think a lot of times what do you think is, a lot of things go into that.
A lot of that has to do, not necessarily because we go, hey, we think it just needs to sound chopped up or something. A lot of it is the very nature of the language. Like those of you who watch Dragon Ball, which may be a few of you out there, like if you go back and look at the mouth movements, a lot of the times, almost every line starts with a single flap, and then a pause, and then it says something else. You go like, blah, 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 blah. So if you want to look good, you kind of have to go, hey, we've got to get out there and get some stuff done, or Krillin, I've got to go do something. So you had to fit something in that first mouth movement, and I think when we're trying very hard to make those mouth movements look and sound correct to its Japanese counterpart, sometimes you run into that situation. It's one of the hardest things about being an anime voice actor is that you don't always get to read a line exactly the way you would want to read it if you got to do it without having to follow the mouth movements. Does that make sense?
And I know a lot of animation is done where the voices are done first and then the animation is done at a later time to fit whatever words are being said. It seems like what you're doing is completely the opposite. So is there literally a monitor in front of you and you're watching it as you're voicing it?
I mean, if you need that.
Pro. There's a real pro. Yeah, you need that.
Todd memorizes the show.
That's why I get very stressed out before. No, that's what makes it so difficult is because you're having to have a certain type of performance and make sure it's accurate to the animation. And you have to deal with the fact that it's already been acted, so you have to like make it your own, but still also honor the way that it's animated. So it's pretty tricky.
Have you ever gotten people that have been like, hey, yeah, you really screwed that up?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're like, I'm total subs all the way. Can you sign this? And I'm like, but no, it is true what you were saying earlier. Like as far as like what shows kind of what makes anime more popular nowadays, I think it is definitely Dragon Ball Z. I can't think of that and Pokemon really are the two.
It really paved the way a lot, but I also think it's because internet culture has grown and we can watch whatever we want in any content, in any language we want, legally or illegally.
It's harder to find Return to Oz. That's a tough one, but I really like that.
Yeah, you'll find it someday.
Yeah.
Speaking of the internet, do you guys on social media positive, negative? What do you get? Do you read it at all?
Everything's been mostly positive for me, luckily.
I bet. Yeah, I can see that.
Well, I mean, I've had a lot of friends who've had a lot of negative things happen to them, so that's kind of scary. But yeah, I love social media. I think somebody once wrote to me, "She's okay." Yeah.
Consider that a win.
Yeah.
I just follow my family, so because if they insult me or something that I do, I'm like, well, it's partially your fault because you're my mom. Yeah.
That's actually not too far from the truth, actually. Todd's mom is so funny.
Son.
The story.
And just starting out in voice acting, there's usually some kind of, were you just pegged in front of a TV your entire childhood, or what kind of drove you to that?
I think the irony of what I'm doing now is that I was grounded from TV a lot when I was a kid. My parents were super strict, and if I got anything less than an A, and sometimes I could get away with a B if I had a good story, but I would get grounded from television. And so the only thing I was allowed to do was, I wasn't allowed to watch TV, but I was allowed to listen to the radio. So I would sit on this giant lazy boy thing and put on these giant 1970s, early 80s headphones, and I would pretend to be listening to the radio, but I would watch TV on a reflection that was in the glass on the mirror on our fireplace, so I'd still get to watch it, but I didn't actually know what it was saying, so I just had to kind of make it up as I was going along. And oddly enough, that's exactly what I do now.
You should buy your parents a house and then say, oh, Chris, that was so sweet of you. Thank you so much for the house, and get them to sign all the closing papers and get them to move their stuff in. And you'd be like, okay, it looks like we're all set up here. Oh, Mom, you know what bought this house? Television.
Yep.
I used to do a similar thing too, where I used to watch a lot of like the 90s Nickelodeon cartoons, like Rugrats and Hey Arnold and stuff like that. And I would watch
Dude Ranch.
Dude Ranch, oh my god, I forgot about that. And I would just watch the reruns and I'd memorize them at this point. So I would turn the sound off and I would just dub over them myself.
Sugoi. For me, I was an only child, so while my friends were, I didn't have many friends, because I moved a lot. And so it would just be me watching like a ton of movies, and then I would recite the whole movie just after. I would watch them, and then I'd just be in my room playing with toys and reciting the whole movie and doing voices. And what's so funny is that I would do impressions. So I would do like, some of the ones that I like to do were like Star Wars impressions. And then years later, when the Star Wars Connect game came out, I was in that, but then they wanted me to also do C-3PO, because Anthony Daniels, because that was one of the ones that as a kid I would do C-3PO. And then they had me send in an audition, and I booked it. And as I'm driving to the studio to go do it, they call me and they go, oh, Anthony Daniels, people called, he's gonna do it.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was like, I turned around and drove off. Yeah, I died, and then the shaman brought me back to life. But no, but yeah, just being in my room, and I had a talk boy from Home Alone 2. Remember that? Does anyone remember what a talk boy was? Do you remember that? It was this thing that you put a cassette in, it was a key pop point thing in Home Alone 2. But you can record into it and slow it down and speed up your voice and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
so I
yeah,
would do
yeah,
that.
I remember.
Just all sorts of.
I was lucky. I grew up in the era before caller ID and Star 69, and that's where I got most of my voice work done, because I would just prank call people all the time. Back then, people didn't know who was calling you, so you could call them as anybody you wanted to.
Yep.
That was the horror was when they started calling you back, when Star 69 would work or caller ID.
And I figured out a way to do that, because at Star 69, like if you called somebody, they could, if they wanted to know who it was, they could Star 69 and they called back the person. It wouldn't tell you, but it would call back that person who just called you. So I just pick up and go, hello. They go, yes, someone just prank called me from this number. Oh yeah, that was probably my son. I'm really sorry. He's been going through some hard times lately. It's just, his mother and I divorced. And like, oh, that's too much information. I'm like, yeah, I'll make sure he gets a serious beating tonight.
I don't know if you hear that metal clanking. It's the various belts I'm going to use, the different leather gauges.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the 12 and then work my way up. Don't worry, he's going to get it.
We'll call you back when he's crying, all right?
Some of us weren't as lucky as you to have an adult voice at 12 years old.
That is true.
I assume you had.
It is actually, my voice changed between 6th and 7th grade. Like I had a tiny, high little voice in 6th grade, and then between, like 7th grade, I showed up and my voice sounded almost exactly like this.
I thought it happened when you came out of the womb. You're like, wham, wham. Someone just cut my umbilical cord.
That's funny.
Don't smack me again, Doc. And video games obviously are a lot of fun to do, and something like the Star Wars franchise, to be part of that as a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, that game ranks right up there with Star Wars DDR, I would imagine. It wasn't a great game. They had good intentions, but being a part of that is, I mean, I can't think of many franchises where you could show like, one little piece of a side character and people are like, that's from Star Wars. Like, can you think of another franchise where it's like, I could show you 1/15 of R2-D2's top dome, and you'd know it's R2. Like,
of course,
isn't that
sure.
crazy? And so that's pretty wild. The only other franchise I can think of is Pickle Toes. Like, I know that from DBY.
DVR, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Video games are interesting because I had the pleasure of voicing the gunsmith in Red Dead Redemption.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great game.
it was a lot of fun, and people would send me the video clips of them dragging me out and putting me on the train tracks and getting hit by a train, and just like ha ha.
Grandma, what are you doing?
So seeing you kind of yourself being put in that position is a little frightening.
Yeah.
Well, what it does though is you're like, you know what? My curiosity is sated. Saturday is now free. I don't have to do that.
The shop is closed due to train running over.
They probably got an achievement for that. That was one of my favorite, and still is one of my favorite games.
Yeah,
like, I
that's
look
cool.
forward to a sequel of that game.
Yeah. Any what are you playing now? Like what? It's an interesting to see.
Oh, can I say one thing? One time I went shopping with Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the store, and he gets video games like you would get like a bundle of apples. It's like, you get like 10 of them, and he's like, can I take this? He's kind of squeezing it for ripeness.
Yeah.
He's grabbing like Call of Duty, he's smelling, oh, it's ready. But he bought like a stack of games, and I'm like, when are you gonna have time to play those? But he makes
Later.
Yeah.
Later.
It's always later.
Meanwhile, I'm back at the Sabat of Justice.
I was actually really stoked. I was about to play all those games you just mentioned, and I was about to power on the most beautiful device I've ever owned. Sean Schemmel, he's the voice of Goku in Dragon Ball. He, for whatever reason, bought me a gold PlayStation 4. Like it's gold, and the controller actually has 9001 on it. Like, it was the most beautiful thing ever. And I had a few days off. The family wasn't going to be around. I was ready to just hunker down and play through all of it. And then I went to go power it on, and it wouldn't power on. So I So I had to send it in for service, so they have it now, and I'm gonna get it back. But it's still the most beautiful device I've ever seen. Wow. I don't care if it ever powers on.
That is one of
What did you play before on your civilian PS4?
Oh gosh, I don't even like to talk about those games. Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, always fun, Grand Theft Auto. Yeah.
What about you?
I like watching people play Grand Theft Auto. I'm really bad at it.
Do you like to watch them when they don't know you're watching them or that you're even there?
Yes. I just sneak in the middle of the night and wait until
I
they
like
get
that.
to
Until they're ready. Yeah. But do you ever mix up the Google Calendar and you show up on the day they're supposed to be at work and you thought that was a video game day, so you have to wait for a whole day in their house? Yeah, that's weird.
I'm a fan of Call of Duty, like all of them, and I am so terrible at it that if somebody was watching me, they would think I was being attacked in real life. I'm screaming. I don't know. I got the best weapon. I'm out there. I'm trying my hardest, and I'll just hear. Look around, and someone just stabbed me and ran away. It's like I'm holding more weaponry than any man could possibly. Oh, really? That's how this works.
Do you ever play Exo Zombies?
No.
Oh, you guys play Exo Zombies? Oh my gosh, I just had dinner with the guy that directed all the Exo Zombies DLC, and he was telling me about recording Malkovich and Bruce Campbell and all those guys, and it was so funny because he was telling me about Bill Paxton, who's in it. Bill Paxton's one of the playable characters, and you would think that this guy is like, he's done so many movies, he had such a career, you would think like he goes in there and he's just like, so confident. He said that Bill Paxton was like, not confident at all, and he was like, he'd come in for a line and he'd mess up and he'd go, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Game over for my life. But what's the highest level you guys have gotten on Exo Zombies? Like, does anyone? 33. 33? I just got the 32 and totally just like, it's 5 in the morning, I gotta stop. Wait, 43? 42. 42 on this current map on Carrier? 42? What weapons did you have?
I can't remember.
And the Limbo, probably? Right on. Level 42? That's pretty amazing. What's your name?
Silas.
You're changing it to Hercules. Wow, that's impressive.
No time goes faster than the time when you're just before leveling up.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and you have to be somewhere or go somewhere or go to sleep or anything. It's like, okay, what is it? It's like 11 p.m. I'll play till 1 a.m. because I gotta get to sleep. What seems like 3 seconds later, you look out the window, it's that blue color. It's 6 in the morning.
And the worst part is if you're playing a game like, EverQuest or World of Warcraft, you have to run back home when you're done. You're just like, ugh, it's like the run of shame all the way back to the same point.
Well, that's another thing too. You could be in the middle of a raid and your significant other doesn't understand the game still. Although you've been playing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Still doesn't get it. It's like, just turn it off and do this or I can't. It's been a raid. I'm healing.
That's why you say before 11 p.m. you're my significant other. After 11, you're insignificant. That's right. Oh.
That is what you just described as my life. I don't get it.
Yeah.
He's like, I was like, are we gonna go to dinner? He's like, no, I have to raid. I have to save Azeroth. Don't you understand?
There's something very important to do.
Okay.
I believe there's a hot pocket in the cabin. Any questions from anybody? I'm sure the girl right here in the white.
So as voice actors who have played your characters for so long and have developed your characters, do you ever run into where you get a new writer who then writes your character and you're like, no, that's not the direction that my character go? Do you have input into that? Can you say, no, my character wouldn't say that? How do you deal with that?
I don't think I've played a character that has been that long that we've changed writers in between. I think it's always been, like for Kill la Kill, like Alex Von David, the director, wrote the whole thing and he's very adamant on everything, every little point.
I see.
Yeah, see?
Yes.
So yeah, so that's never happened. Sometimes they'll let me, like, if they'll ask me for advice, like, oh, do you think your character would say that? Or something like that. A little bit, yeah, if they ask for it, then I'll give it to them. But I don't, like, interject. I trust the writing. So try to stick with what is given.
I think most people, if you're in any session and you know a character really well, any good director or anyone on staff would respect your opinion if you're like, I just don't think this character would say this thing. I mean, it's happened in Dragon Ball before. On all the games, we get to change anything to what we want. The funny thing is, I was trying to explain when we got a bug report back from Japan on one of the early Dragon Ball games, and like, excuse me, but the translation says it's over 8,000. I go, oh no, it's got to be over 9,000. I go, but you don't understand. It says over. The translation is specifically over 8. I'm like, no, it's got to stay over 9,000. You just don't. Like, but please explain. I just sent them a video. Please explain again.
Was the video of you holding their significant other at Dragon Ball Point?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I think what's really cool about it is this man knows. I don't know many people who know. Would you say, Sean, you got your knowledge of DBZ and Sean's like, you probably know more because you have to deal with just more than Goku. Like you probably are the preeminent PhD for DBZ in the USA.
That wouldn't be true. I read that. Wow, there are a lot of acronyms in that.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I know a lot about Dragon Ball.
You really do.
You've done
Like
it for 15 years. You know a lot about it.
It flows from you. Like I can point out anything in the show, and you're like, oh yeah, that comes from this. And let me just. So there's this planet called blah blah blah. You know.
2.5 hours later, he's like, I wish I'd never brought that up.
Gentleman over here. Sure.
Question for Chris. What would you actually change about the DVD story if you had an option, like you were Akira Toriyama?
If I were Akira Toriyama, I would introduce more female Saiyans. I would bring Launch back. Let's see, 'cause she's been just missing. Wow, I have a thing for female characters, I guess. Let's see. And I would include Vegeta in far more episodes, I think. Oh, I mean Jocko, of course.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm reading that manga right now, by the way.
Oh really? Is it good?
Oh, it's excellent. It's really funny.
Okay, groovy.
Sir over here in the way.
This question for Chris. Do you hate when people ask you to do voices from Vegeta?
Not really. Do I hate it when people ask me to do voices of Vegeta? Actually, I can't hate it because it's one of the most amazing things in the world to be sitting there and for anyone to be that interested in something that you do. They just want you to say a couple of things in a certain voice and it makes them pee themselves. And it's like, that's the coolest power to have in the universe. Like, but seriously, I am so grateful to be able to have done so many great, awesome, cool roles. And when people come, like I have friends of mine, they're like, I've got this nephew and he really isn't Dragon Ball Z. I feel bad for asking him. Like, what do you mean? I get to do this and scribble on a piece of paper and it turns you into a hero. Like, it's the easiest job. I don't have to help you move your refrigerator into your new apartment or anything. All I have to do is just scribble my name on something and it makes me cool.
And you're like, where's the autograph? It's under the fridge that needs to be.
Yes.
You say when Vegeta was fighting Majin Buu, he said, I'm going to crush you and throw you into the wind. But you are a fool.
I hate doing voice requests, to be honest. I'm joking. I'm going to crush you and throw you into the wind and then spit on your face.
That does seem to be one of the things as a voice actor that people probably want the most. You know, I was talking with Billy West outside, and of course, so many voices he's done.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, which one? Do this. Anything from the Honey Nut Cheerio bee to Stimpy.
Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Oh boy, Ren. Yeah.
When I found out that we were doing a group panel on the way over here, I was like, thank goodness that Billy West is not on this panel, because when I'm on a panel with him, I don't even know what to say. Because he's done so much stuff, and anything I've done seems to like pale by comparison, so I just don't even want to talk.
Yeah.
On the panel, he's there, just talk more, Billy, just say more things.
Right here behind the camera.
Yeah, I want for Todd.
Yeah.
I hope you remember me.
I do actually.
Yeah,
I was like, I just looked over, I was like, oh yeah, I remember you.
I hope you
Yeah.
remember me. I was filming you this morning when you left your room.
I'm just glad you got me from my good side.
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
In pitch black darkness.
Yeah, I know you wasn't the episode with the Star Treks.
Oh, with Star Trek Continues.
Yeah, and I read on the Facebook they had like the YouTube decided to do like a kind of fit Counter Strike
Oh, you mean they yanked the episode?
Yeah, yeah.
That's not okay. What he's talking about is I work on this show called Star Trek Continues.
Woo!
And
How about that?
one fan. But how many? First of all, well, honestly, how many people have not heard about Star Trek Continues? That's okay. Star Trek Continues. Vic Mignogna is the executive producer of Star Trek Continues. He's Captain Kirk. I'm his Commander Spock. We have the largest recreation of the Star Trek sets in the world. Our Scotty is the original Scotty's son, Chris Doohan. Grant Imahara from Mythbusters is our Sulu. Our most recent episode, our guest star was the 6th Doctor, Doctor Who, Colin Baker. We've had Lou Ferrigno on there. We've had all these. Marina Sirtis, Counselor Troy, the voice of our computer. The Pixar guys are writing our next episode.
Wow.
So if you haven't checked it out, it's all online. It's award-winning, all this fun stuff. So we posted the episode on YouTube. It's all available on YouTube. And for this crowd only, I will make all your access to YouTube free for this weekend only. But
Yeah.
so they put the episode on there, and then it was yanked. But it wasn't CBS that did it. You gotta understand.
There are forces in the universe that we can't talk about right now.
Yeah, they're more powerful than you could possibly imagine. But there are a lot of Star Trek productions, a lot of fan productions, and
Yeah.
sometimes it gets competitive. And so I can't say much more about that because there's stuff going on.
Pending litigation.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
I want to hear that.
it's not CBS.
Yeah.
I want to say something. When I looked at the bios and everything, I didn't say. I now am starstruck. I watch it.
Oh, do you?
Yes, and
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
it's probably the most amazing reproduction of Star Trek that
Oh my
I've ever
gosh,
seen.
thank you so
the
much.
lighting, the sets, and the acting. If you stood away from the screen a little bit, you'd absolutely think you were watching the original Star Trek.
Well, thank you for saying that. Vic works really hard on that show. He loves it so much. I mean, this guy, talk about a guy that used to record the Star Trek episodes on a cassette tape, put it under his pillow, and fall asleep to just the audio at night. Yeah, I mean, in some circles, that might also be a similar story to something like a Ted Bundy type situation, but he used his powers for good. And so, but thank you so much for watching that. It's really cool. We're gearing up for the next episode. Our next episode is premiering at Salt Lake City Comic-Con next month, or in September, I think. And it's Civil War themed.
You can tell the work that goes into it because it just looks astounding.
Oh man, I'm in the makeup chair at 5:30
I
in the
bet.
morning. It takes 2 hours to get into it. It's crazy.
It's a great job, though.
Thank you so much.
Highly recommend
There are
it.
13 people pointing towards that one person.
Yes, right there you go. The girl in the
And
green
she also has a
skirt.
check. She has written a check for us.
Yeah.
3 questions for Todd.
Oh, okay. Hello again.
Hi again.
Did you kill anyone with your bow and arrow?
No.
You're slacking. It's time. Okay.
Okay, well, one is, what is the most important thing that the host club knows or has learned about friendship or family?
The most important thing that the host club has learned about friendship or family is that there's going to be good times, bad times. I know I've had my share. The thing they've learned is that you just get in each other's backs. And I think it's the same thing that Fairy Tale does. You just get you get each other's backs, and we all know that Elfman is someone that you've got to watch out for. He's one of the coolest ones.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and my second question is, how hard was it to match the tone and the voice to make it sound simultaneously captured?
Oh, how hard was it to match Cowdery's voice in Oron? We didn't actually. Either Greg or I would record first, and then we would just go in and it's easy because you have it in Pro Tools and you record it, you listen, try to match it, then you just scoot it around till it fits. Yeah.
Alright, and my third question is, can you read these lines off of this note card?
Can I read the lines off the... Can you bring me this note card? Is it in Japanese? I hope so. I was going to practice my... Okay, let's see. Here.
Uh-oh.
Having a couple of good-looking guys with homosexual tendencies earns the club high points, and also helps if the two struggle between their attraction and their friendship. And besides, who hasn't fantasized about twins? Having 2 loves is better than 1, don't you think? It's totally normal and way not weird, and we're gonna find something here. Here you go, I'm trying to save it. Go find something more. Oh, here we go. And we're gonna go find something more entertaining to do.
Dragon Ball episode I was talking about earlier. There's one more, Todd. It's on the back.
Oh, I remember.
Oh,
Yes, that was
yeah.
one of my favorite parts. What's your favorite episode of War On? I love it. That's my favorite. That is my favorite. Very cool. Thank you.
All right, Todd.
Sure, over there with the tie.
This is for all of you. What was like your favorite show to do voice acting for?
Okay, Dragon Ball.
Great, it's okay. We can skip you.
Yeah, you don't have to say Dragon Ball. I won't be upset at you.
What's your favorite?
I think my favorite has been Kill la Kill. It's so out there and crazy, and
Yeah.
like nothing is off limits, and it's just a huge freight train that never stops, and it's been so fun. And my character in particular has no off button. She just yells and yells and yells and yells, and she'll never.
Sounds like my ex-wife. Oh! Just kidding. She's very nice. Just joking. That was a joke. My favorite show, Fairy Tale, and also Sergeant Frog was great.
That's a good show.
It was a good show. And then Great Man.
Why are we doing more of that show? Anyway,
That's a question.
yeah,
Figure out.
I love working on Dragon Ball because I've never worked on a show. It's amazing to imagine that I've worked on this show for so long, so I do really like working on it. However, the most fun I've had probably was in a show called Panty and Stocking. And that show is ridiculous. And I really like working on One Piece as Zoro.
Miss in the blue.
Mine kind of goes along with his, so your favorite show, but which ones do you think, like, you guys have done so many, and you've done so many Dragon Ball Z, but do you ever hear it or when you watch it, and be like, oh, that sounds so close to the other show I just did? Do you ever have, like, not writer's block, but like vocal block, where you feel like you're reacting to another character from something you've already done?
That's complicated.
Well, I think at a certain point you've just done. You're one human being, and then also the types of voice you find an archetype. Anime has archetypes, and so oftentimes you're playing some kid named Skune and Rosario plus Vampire, but then you're also playing a kid who's Yamato and Suzuka getting dissed by a stone cold-blooded woman, and then you're doing all these. They're similar, so there's no. I mean, they're both kids in different, parallel universes. I feel like,
Let's see here, girl in the white over there.
So
Accomplice.
3 years ago, you came to Comic-Con, and it was Chaoticon, and my friend and another friend of mine went to see you and Vic, and you guys did a shout out to us. Well, me in particular, because I wasn't able to go. So I'd just like to thank you for doing that. And also, would you like something?
what kind of cookies? Come on.
Come on.
They're good cookies.
Thank you so much for giving me the shout out. It's the most polite shouting I've had towards my direction all day. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to have these cookies and pass out and wake up 3 days later. Thank you.
Sugar rush.
She wants to know if there's penis in it. She has a penis allergy. Whoa. Are any of you getting dizzy?
Thank you so much.
We got time for a right here up front.
Sunrise? Sunset.
Question for Todd. Hopefully you know something about this because it's just getting to me.
I know very little about many things.
People online have been saying something about a season 2 of Moron High School Host Club coming out in, I think, 2017, and I want to know if that's true or not.
Well, I work very closely with none of the people that create that show. But I will tell you that if they're going to do it, I would love to come back and do it if they'll have me. Because, listen, there's unfinished business in that show, wouldn't you say? Do you guys all want to see a season 2 of War On? Do you all want to see a season season 2 of D. Gray Man? Do you all want to see another season of Dukes of Hazzard?
No!
That's a trick question.
Yeah!
And, oh, girl in the hat.
Germany, come over here. Guess what? You look dead sexy in a mini and it has
Sparkles!
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to play the characters you play.
That's great. That went very quickly, everyone. Thanks so much.
All right,
Thanks so much. What a blast. Good time. Thank you. And thank all of you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Todd. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you very much.